Hello there. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, appears you can. I see a couple that says connecting to audio. So welcome to our Saladana virtual, huh? Which I think this will be, at least for May, the last time I'll do it on Thursday afternoon, just because it's in the middle of my workday and I need to work a little bit. But we'll continue with Wednesdays in Spanish with David, and then Sunday I'll continue to do in English. And hopefully someday soon we can come back and actually do it in person. We'll see someday soon. So I thought what I would do, well, first, yeah, why don't we just take off the mute and we can all say hi.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
Hello. Because of the fear of people entering our group who we would rather not, I'm going to monitor the waiting room. So once in a while, I'll open my eyes during the meditation to make sure there's nobody in the waiting room. But just how are things? How are people's spirits?
Okay.
Yeah. You
It's
get
nice
to
to
go
get
outside
outside.
if you're in Spain now for an hour or something, and
Yeah,
that's nice.
makes a difference.
Yeah, we were in the desert last week where there were very few people, far more rabbits than people. And now we're in San Francisco and there are no rabbits and there are a lot of people. Quite scary. It's like Madrid. It's very dense. But anyways, here we are. Okay, so we will do a meditation of 25 minutes or so. Again, doing the samatha calming practice at first, using the breath and the body, possibly sounds, which we also don't have any pretty birds outside our window like in the desert. Instead, we have car noises and, you know, people yelling. Last night, we had somebody screaming in the middle of the night. So, different noises, but you could still use them. You know, try not to think about them, try not to label them, just notice the process of hearing. And then, because we're going to touch on the fourth foundation of mindfulness today, I probably will add a little instruction about the hindrances, which I'm sure some of you have heard of the hindrances, the obstáculos in Spanish, just to remind you to see if they're present or not. Whether desire is present, wanting or aversion, sleepiness, restlessness, or doubt. Those being the 5 hindrances. So yeah, if there's no questions, we'll start with our meditation. Okay, I'll put you guys on mute. Recorded. Okay, so we'll go for 25 minutes, more or less. Okay, so as usual, let's find a comfortable posture. One that you hopefully can maintain for the entire period. And we do this so that we can observe our mind and our habits of mind. So we try to stay still and then see how the mind reacts. So arriving in this present moment, to the here and the now, let's use the body as a tool to bring the mind into the present moment. So you could just feel the whole body at once, just feel the weight of the body. Like the body is an anchor. I like that, anchoring us into this present moment. Or if you like, we'll do a little body scan. For those of you also are studying English, it gives you a chance to remind yourself of the body parts, of the names of the body parts. Huh? So let's start with the head. And just try to feel your head. Maybe you notice some weight. Maybe there's some tingling. Maybe some tension. Noticing the face, the jaw, the forehead. And if there's any tension in the face, just try to relax, just let it drop. And then moving into the torso of the body. Feeling the front body, the chest, the belly, maybe noticing the movement of the front body. And the back body. Noticing if there's any tension, maybe in the shoulders, the shoulder blades. Just try to relax. Drop your shoulders, drop your shoulder blades. Maybe noticing any weight in the area of the lumbar and the lower back. And we just want to feel, experience, know directly these sensations. Try not to make up any stories about them. Feeling the arms, the weight of the arms. Maybe there's feeling of temperature, coolness, warmness. And then the hands. Noticing where the hands might be touching the legs or each other. There should be sensation at the point of contact. Just feeling it. Maybe there's some warmth there. And then moving to the sit bones. Noticing the contact with the chair, the cushion, the couch, the bed, the floor. Noticing the pressure, the legs, the knees. Noticing any currents of energy flowing through the legs or any pain. And the feet. And then if you can, trying to envelop, wrap your whole body up in awareness, in kind, loving awareness, like you're giving yourself an awareness bath or an awareness hug. Just feel your whole body right to its extremities. And as I mentioned, you can use the whole body as an anchor at any time. This could be the anchor for your meditation practice. And when the mind wanders, when it gets lost in thought, when you notice that, you can come back to your anchor, this body. Or we can use the breath. So let's try to find the breath now. The inhale, the exhale. And for those of you who might be new or just experimenting, try to find a place where the breath is very obvious, very easy to see, easy to feel, easy to watch. And this can be your anchor if you choose the breath, this place. And we just feel the breath here, experience the breath here until the mind wanders. And then when we notice, we bring the mind back, bring the attention back to this place. And the feeling of the breath, the knowing of the breath. Again and again. Maybe you could stay with the breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. That's fantastic. And your mind will wander and you bring it back. With curiosity, with kindness. And if you notice there's judgment or frustration or criticism, just try to let those go too. And if you find the breath and the body too much, you can always use sounds, listening as an anchor. It's a very receptive state. It's a very calming state to just listen. So you have 3 choices as anchors and try to pick one and stay with it. So I'll be quiet now. We could just practice coming back to the present moment, coming back to our anchor. If you have a practice of labeling your experience or would like to try that, you can simply use one word names to label or follow your experience. For instance, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling. And when you notice your mind is thinking, you can simply say thinking, thinking. And as you return to your anchor, returning, returning. These labels can support us to stay connected to our experience, to the present moment. Now, if you are feeling a little more calm or centered, or even if you're not, you can try to apply the fourth foundation of mindfulness, especially the hindrances, the obstáculos. So what this would mean is you might ask yourself, am I experiencing desire, wanting right now? Am I wanting things to be different, more pleasant? Or am I feeling aversion, ill will, or I want something to go away? Maybe there's pain, too much thinking. Or am I simply feeling drowsy, sleepy, or restless and worried? Or the last one, the fifth one, am I feeling some doubt? Does this meditation really work? Should I be doing something else? Just asking yourself if one of those or more than one are present at any time. And how about now? Is there wanting in the mind or aversion in the mind? Or are you experiencing sleepiness or restlessness? Or is there doubt? Anytime we ask ourselves this question, we bring ourselves back to the present moment. Now, wherever your attention might be, let's let that go and return to the body, to infusing the body or filling the body with awareness, with mindfulness. So again, noticing whatever sensations might be present in the body. Maybe now there might be some pain, maybe in the legs, the knees, or maybe there's body parts that are asleep, they've fallen asleep. Pins and needles. Whatever it is, we're aware of it, know it, experience it. And then let's try again to wrap the whole posture, the whole body in awareness, feeling the body right to the level of the skin, feeling our physical form, maybe noticing a little tingling at the level of the skin. And then imagining you can extend your awareness a little beyond the physical form into the energy field. Maybe there's a little flujo, a little current there. And then imagining you can extend your awareness to include everybody on this call today, meditating together. And reminding ourselves that we practice not only for our own personal benefit, but for the benefit of all beings and the benefit of our planet. And when you hear the sound of the bell, just noticing whatever arises, thoughts, sensations, and noticing how they arise, stay just for a moment and pass away. Thank you, everyone. So, yeah, for those of you who haven't seen the inside of our house, we're now in the living room. There's Anna Monica. Over there is the Buddha. And then next to the Buddha is my other Buddha, my brother. My brother Buddha is over there.
Cat Buddha.
We have cat Buddhas on the wall too.
It's a painting of my kitty cats.
So, yeah, I thought I would do is talk a little bit more, and hopefully this isn't too boring. I mean, you guys keep coming back, so I guess it's okay. I'm talking about the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which, as I mentioned, really is the foundation of even the modern mindfulness teachings that you would get if you took a course like mindfulness-based stress reduction or any of the number of mindfulness courses you can find. They're pretty much drawn from these 4 establishments or foundations that go all the way to the back to the time of the Buddha. And so we talked about the first one, which is mindfulness of body. And we mainly focused on the physical form, the body, and the breath. But in that particular one, there also is mindfulness of elements. There's mindfulness of body parts. There's mindfulness of the corpse. There's mindfulness of activity, like, you know, the main things we do in our lives. And there's mindfulness of postures, sitting, laying, walking, standing. And then the second foundation is what we call mindfulness of feelings or feeling tone, which is Vedana, is the Pali word. It means, is it pleasant or unpleasant or neutral? Do I grasp? Do I go forward? Do I push it away? Or no me importa, me aburra? That's the second one. And the belief is that this happens with every experience we have. Anytime something arises, naturally, just instinctively, we approach it, we push it away, or we don't care. And then the third one, which we did last week, was mindfulness of mind. They call it mindfulness of mind, or mental states of mind, our emotions, our thoughts, our moods, whatever has a mental processing quality to it. And then the last one is called mindfulness of dhammas or dharma in Sanskrit, which is interpreted in various ways, including the truth, the law, the teachings. And Bhikkhu Analayo, a quite prominent teacher who's a Pali scholar, he translates it as mindfulness of categories of phenomena. And I believe he chooses that because there's various lists in this group, this foundation. And I'm going to again try to use the share screen to show you the group. So bear with me one second. And I always seem to struggle to find it. That's parallels. Sweetie, how do I get to the?
I don't see it. Is it your Kindle? Is that what you want?
No, although that could work, but. Oh, you know why? Oops. Bear with me one second. I accidentally took it down. All right.
Close and I
So close this.
don't.
Okay, getting closer. There we go. Okay, so as many of you know, so this is the Satipatthana, is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. The word sutta means discourse or talk, teachings. So there are the 4 mind foundations. We did the body, we did feelings, we did mind, and now we're at phenomena. So hopefully everybody could see mindfulness of phenomena, right? All right, so these are our lists: 5 hindrances, 5 aggregates, 6 inner and outer sense bases, 7 factors of awakening, and the 4 noble truths. And pretty much almost probably the whole teachings can flow up into this, because, for instance, with the 4th noble truth, the 4th truth is the Eightfold Noble Path, the Noble Eightfold Path, which then has all the lists within that bring you all the way back around to the mindfulness. So pretty much it's all in there. But the Buddha highlighted these particular things as ways of seeing, you might say, ways of experiencing life that can bring us closer to the cessation of suffering, the end of suffering. And so the first one is the 5 hindrances, which, did I misspell hindrances? That's an E, right? Or is that an A? That's right. Okay. And so these are, in a way, these really are forms of suffering, right? These are difficulties that get in between us and the cessation of suffering. They're often very much associated with meditation states of jhana. There are also 5 jhanic qualities. Those are qualities of tranquility and happiness that is experienced when we're very calm, very deep in meditation. And so there's these 5 hindrances that block us from experiencing those 5 wonderful states. But they can also show up in all walks of our life. I mean, it's really amazing how universal they are. And I find them very helpful at times to just remind myself when I'm suffering, when I'm struggling, if I feel angry, sad, frustrated, fearful, whatever, I can almost always point to one of these as an underlying condition. And I'm going to go over real briefly, but kind of do a summary of how the Buddha taught how we can use these to point us in the right direction and continue us on the path towards the end of suffering. So we'll just quickly go over them, and I mentioned them at least twice during our meditation. So the first one is called sensual desire, or wanting to experience something different than what I'm experiencing, wanting it to be more pleasant, wanting it to be more fun, wanting even to be happy. This wanting is a hindrance because it's a craving, right? It's a form of dissatisfaction in and of itself, right? Whenever we want things to be different, it's because we're dissatisfied. The second one is called ill will or hate or aversion. And that's the flip side of the wanting. It's really a form of wanting as well, but it's wanting it to go away. It's like pushing it away. Like as I mentioned, I have this issue with my sinuses where sometimes it can be very uncomfortable. This one comes up a lot for me, aversion. I want my nose to be different than it is. Not to look different, but to feel different. Sometimes I want it to look different too, but it's a form of aversion. And then the next 2 are more full body, full condition states. Like one is when we're tired, drowsy, right? Or we just don't have any energy, just don't feel like it. They call it sloth and torpor using the Old English, dullness and drowsiness. On the flip side of that coin is restlessness. You just can't sit still, constantly, fidgeting or whatever. And the mind gets like that too, right? Where it's just boom, boom, boom. It's just jumping from one thing to another. It can't settle down. Or we're worrying. When is this coronavirus thing going to end? Or, if I go outside, am I going to catch it? Or is my family going to catch it? I mean, we could just go on a worry train forever. I like to mention when I talk about worry, I love a quote by a Kirtanista and a teacher by the name of Bhagavan Das. He said, worrying is praying for what you don't want. Worrying is praying for what you don't want. And that's really what it is. I mean, when we worry and worry and worry, we just end up stuck in a state of worry. And then the very last one, which is probably the most, how would I say? It's the most like insidious. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's very clever. This one, it's called skeptical doubt, because we are taught, especially in the West, that doubt is actually a good thing, right? Where we question whether this is the truth. This has some benefits. However, in the meditation practice, or with respect to the Buddhist teachings, what could be disguised as a healthy questioning can actually be this skeptical doubt. And it can get in the way of us advancing in our practice. We think we're doing the right thing by questioning it, but we could just get stuck in this idea that maybe we should be doing it differently, or maybe these teachings actually don't work, or maybe this guy, Jim, doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, or, whatever it is, and you go nowhere. We do have to have a little bit of faith to kind of get going in that direction, and we have to kind of accept that these guys, these teachers, not all guys and women, knew what the hell they were talking about, and that following these instructions are going to serve us. So it's a little clever, this one, and it is probably the most common. People doubting, I can't do it. Gosh, I can't seem to stay with my breath more than 3 breaths. I'm never going to be a good meditator. I'm never going to find any peace. You just could fill your mind with doubt, go nowhere. So take that off. And I want to go again to our wonderful book by Joseph Goldstein on mindfulness. It really is probably the best book that we can find in terms of the, whoops, I forgot to hit share screen. There we go. So this is part from the chapter, whoop, yeah, a couple more, boring. Yes, okay. So this quote that I hope you can see, it's highlighted in yellow. It is probably one of the, if you're going to memorize a Buddhist quote, this is one of the ones most highly recommended, especially the first sentence. So I'll just read it, you can read it as well. But bhikkhus, which essentially means followers, monks, beggars, but us, we're on the path, right? Bhikkhus, whatever a bhikkhu frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of the mind. This is so important, right? It's like the more we do something, the more the mind is inclined to do that very same thing. So if we worry a lot, we will like dig a neural trench in our brain where worrying will then happen more and more and more. The mind will be inclined towards worry. But it can also be on the positive. The more that we are mindful of the present moment and we don't worry, we're present with our experience, the more the mind will do that. The second sentence, if one frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of sensual desire, one has abandoned the thought of renunciation, which is very important in Buddhism, the letting go, right? The thought of renunciation to cultivate thoughts of sensual desire. And then the mind inclines to thoughts of sensual desire. It's as simple as that, right? If I'm constantly thinking about how if I just have a better apartment in a better location that's prettier than this one, and I just obsess about it, my mind will just keep going there, right? And it'll become convinced that that's the answer to my problems, and whatever it might be, right? So see how much time we got. I want to be sure to have time for our metta. So I'm going to try, let's see, can I read this whole thing quickly? Yeah, okay, so this is a story that the Buddha taught or told about himself that I think is actually quite interesting. He says, formerly, when I lived the household life, and he wasn't a monk, I enjoyed myself, provided and endowed with the 5 chords of sensual pleasure that are wished for, desired, agreeable, and likable, connected with sensual desire and provocative of lust. I had 3 palaces, one for the winter, or one for the rainy season, one for the winter, one for the summer. I lived in the rain's palace for 4 months of the rainy season, enjoying myself with musicians, and I did not go to the lower palace. Move this. On a later occasion, having understood as they really are the gratification, the defects, the disadvantages, and the release in the case of sensual pleasures, I abandoned craving for sensual pleasures. I removed the fever of sensual pleasures, and I dwelled without thirst, with the mind inwardly at peace. There is a delight apart from sensual pleasures, apart from unwholesome states, which surpasses even divine bliss. Since I take delight in that, I do not envy what is inferior, nor do I delight therein. It's a lot of words, and I could summarize it kind of with my own life rather quickly. Right now, I have an apartment here that is about 130 square meters, which I know for Spain, that can be quite good size. But in my prior life, when I used to collect, Buddhist art and stuff like that, I had a house that was 350 square meters, and I had another one at the beach, right, my summer palace, that was another 200 square meters. I had my 2 cars, my 2 kids in private school, all that kind of stuff. It did not bring me the peace I was seeking. I can tell you it brought me the exact opposite. I would worry about people breaking into my house, which actually they would sometimes, take our bicycles or whatever. It was not the kind of interior peace that I was looking for. I thought it was, and I was on that hamster wheel for a long time. So I can really, from my own experience, I can really see what the Buddha was talking about. He had his 3 palaces, he was a prince, and he left all that to be a renunciate, to be a bhikkhu. And he taught for 60 years. So I think it worked, must have worked. I wonder if there's enough time to just, yeah. Okay, I want to mention one other thing. And that is with respect to the hindrances. During your practice, we get to know these, right? So maybe this is the first time you've heard about them. You're not going to remember all 5 of them right away, but you start to learn them and you get to know them. But it's very important that we also notice when they are not present, because this is the inclining the mind to the wholesome, right? So when the desire and the ill will and the sleepiness and the restlessness and worry and the doubt are not present, this theoretically should be a moment of peace for you, a moment of equanimity, a moment of tranquility. And we want to be aware of that. And we want to cultivate that, right? We want to embrace that, because that's really where we want the mind to incline. Because we could just notice, oh, there's desire present, and not do anything about it and just continue with the desire. That is possible. It isn't like just by noticing that it's present, it will go away. It may, but it may stick around, or it may come right back. So we really want to be aware of when it isn't present as well. And I've kind of run out of time, but there are 5 steps which are included in Joseph's book about how to work with the hindrances. The first one is to be aware when it's present. The second one is to be aware when they're not present. So maybe on Sunday we could talk a little bit more about, yeah, maybe we will. Maybe I'll do that. On Sunday, I'll pick up the hindrances again, do a little review and so forth. Meanwhile, is there anybody has a question or would like to make a comment to share? No? Okay, we'll do a metta meditation, goodwill, loving kindness meditation. So I think everybody here, yeah, we've all done it. I'm quite sure. Fran, have you done metta with us before? Okay, good. Okay, so again, let's find a comfortable posture. Really, during metta, the comfortable is even more important than in the vipassana practice. So we can really cultivate these heart qualities. If I put my hands right here on my heart, just to really feel that area, heart center. So I'll go ahead and mention some phrases out loud, and you can repeat them to yourself or use whatever phrases works best for you to really feel this sense of goodwill, this sense of loving kindness, this metta. So why don't we start, rather than with I, let's start with those people who are on the front lines, so to speak, of the coronavirus crisis. So in other words, the nurses, the doctors, the security guards, even the store clerks and the bus drivers and whoever is right there on the front line at risk, risking their life, or many who have risked their life and died. Maybe let's think about them first. Imagine maybe you know somebody, or maybe you are somebody who is right there at risk, doing what you can. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be healthy and well. May you be safe and protected. And may you live with ease. And now let's try I. Let's send metta to ourselves. Often we do this one first, but second works as well. May I be happy. May I be healthy and well. May I be safe and protected. May I live with ease. And now let's call to mind a difficult person, somebody who in our life is either suffering and possibly spreading that suffering onto others, or maybe they just said something that hurt our feelings. We have a little resentment towards them. Just a little unfinished business, you might say, with somebody. Let's bring that person to mind and offer metta, goodwill to them. I'm going to use the pronoun he. You can use whatever works. May he be happy. May he be healthy and well. May he be safe and protected. May he live with ease. And now we'll offer metta to all beings, without exception, in all directions. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy and well. May all beings be safe and protected. May all beings live with ease. And finally, we'll dedicate our practice today for the benefit of all beings. Share these gifts, the teachings, our Buddha nature, our Sangha, our community. Sending this out for the benefit of all beings. May all beings be happy and peaceful, healthy and strong, safe and protected. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, free from war and violence, discrimination, and free from coronavirus. And may all beings find their path towards the end of suffering. May all beings be free. Well, thank you very much. It's been a privilege to, lead these groups on Thursday in English from California. I think at least for May, it's because it is in the middle of my work day when people are working, those of us who are, it's more difficult. But we'll see what June brings. Meanwhile, I'm willing to stay on. I'll take off the mute, and I don't know if anybody wants to connect with each other in a smaller group, but I'm willing to set that up, or we could just kind of all talk. We're not such a big group as we are. So yeah, I will do that. Unmute, and I will take us off of YouTube.